Jaedee Caines here for another episode of Speak Up. If I seem a little bit hurried, a little bit rushed, is because I literally just came from a PTA meeting. I had to get out of that to come here to be with you another Thursday night. It's definitely a pleasure to be here with you. For those of you who are tuned in via traditional means, 860 AM and 93.7 FM, I thank you so much for doing so, because your support is greatly appreciated. Also, we want to go across and say good evening to those who are tuned in via social media, whether Facebook or YouTube. We are equally happy to have you. Speak Up is this and every Thursday night on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan Radio. And this evening, we have so much to talk about in 30 minutes. Well, it's now about 28 minutes, and I hope that this show can not only inform but also educate you and to some extent entertain you. Even though the business of running Nevis shouldn't be a laughing matter, we just mean that it should entertain you to the extent that you want to tune in again and again. It has been quite an interesting week. This is my second time at Vaughan Radio this week. On Monday, I was fortunate enough to be the guest on Your Voice with the NRP. That show, as you know, is every Monday night with our host, Stevenson Manners. And I had the opportunity to speak about some of the things I want to do in the St. Paul's constituency, Nevis 1, as well as speak about some of the things that have been happening that we want to see being done a little bit better, and some of the things that are happening that we are not pleased with at all, and we want to see a total transformation. So it was a balancing act last Thursday. Naturally, I want to greet all of you, but I especially want to mention the residents of Nevis 1 St. Paul. Those of you, whether you're in Government Road, Hamilton, Stony Grove, Ramsbury, Cedar Trees, Bath Road, Low Street, Main Street, and its surrounding areas, I say an extra special good evening to you. And as always, we know that Rohan will greet his persons up in Nevis 3. But before I turn over to him and give him that opportunity, I just want to remind everyone that this coming Saturday, that's the 29th of January, from 7 p.m., the NRP wants to engage Nevisians who are resident overseas in a virtual town hall. And so we are asking persons to register. You can visit the NRP's Facebook page and you will see the post as well as the link to register. So you register by clicking the link and completing the very brief form that's available, and you will get your responses between this evening and tomorrow in terms of the login details for Saturday's meeting. We encourage you to register now. Do not wait until the last minute. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. Good evening, Rohan.
Good evening, Jaedee. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good night to the constituents of Nevis 3, that is Ginger and St. George. Good night to our listeners, to our regulars, and to those who are joining us for the first time. As per usual, we take the opportunity to extend congratulations to those who are celebrating today and this week. I saw some individuals successfully completing some work at the University of the West Indies, the open campus. So congratulations to those individuals. And as well, we continue to keep those of our residents and our constituents who are suffering, whether in any ailment or any difficulties, or who would have lost someone during the week. We want you to know that you are in our thoughts and our prayers. Jaedee, it's good to be on Speak Up.
It is, because we have a lot to speak about. We want our people to indeed speak up. Rohan, today we got an update, for want of a better term, from Nevis's Premier as to what is happening on our island, the island of Nevis. The press conference, as you know, the Premier seeks to have monthly press conferences. Sometimes he doesn't quite get it every month, but he does come to us and through his press conferences and offers some information as to what's happening. What were your thoughts about today? What are your thoughts about today's press conference, Rohan?
Well, today probably got a taste of what's not happening. Got a sense of a lot of unsurety and uncertainty there. A lot of things stood out for me. One of the things particular is we have not yet operationalized, and we are not yet ready the PCR testing machines. Apparently we are waiting on the Pan American Health Organization to give some level of green light for that to happen. And we've been saying time and time again that information is important.
Yes.
So we understand and we know where we are on the scale of certain things. We were told, I think midway through 2021, that
yes.
the people of Japan, who continue to be good friends to St. Kitts and Nevis, donated one PCR machine, and then we were told a few months later that the Drahi Foundation, now recognizing that is the Drahi Foundation, would have donated another one. And we had that conversation where we spoke about the training for this testing, because you would have known beforehand that you're getting the machines, and so you had the opportunity to, whether you were sending them to St. Kitts or any other Caribbean island, whoever the individuals were, to get training, so that by the time the machines got here, they would have had that level of training. So whatever testing that needed to be done to ensure that the machines were working as they should and the testing were in line with international best practices, that could happen in short order, but that didn't happen. And so 6 months and 7 months on, we are at the point now where we have done the test and we are waiting for PAHO to say XYZ. And PAHO is an international organization of reputable standing. I don't think it's going to take them very long for them to say whether the testing samples that were sent to them is acceptable or not. But I'm just saying that 7 months.
Rohan, and that right there is the issue for me. I understand that there are processes that have to be followed, and I would hope that our people in the Ministry of Health and in the Nevis Island Administration will follow the necessary processes. And so I don't seek to comment on the processes. My issue is there always seems, or quite often, there seems to be an issue with information sharing. We don't know what the update is about these things so much later. Additionally, we seem to have a situation where our people, the people who we put in leadership positions, just can't get it together. They never seem to have their finger on the pulse. They never seem to be able to execute anything in the time frame that they say. Yes, things will happen. Yes, we will fall short at times. But every time, someone, that is what I have an issue with. Yep. Because I could recall, as you so rightly said, it was last year, mid-last year, when we were advised that PCR testing machines were coming soon. The word soon continues to be banded about by this administration, and I have an issue. So I do want to see PCR machines being operational, PCR testing being operational rather here in on the island of Nevis, at the Alexandra Hospital, to be precise, because it is, I am hoping, something that can reduce the cost for our people in terms of the amount they have to pay. So I really want to see that. I am saying, can our government just get it together? Just get it together.
That's a good question. I believe, though, that there is some level of micromanagement and there's some level of political grandstanding in certain things, and I believe as politicians, if you let people who know what ought to be done do what ought to be done,
correct,
and stop trying to always want to be the director here and the director there,
micromanaging.
Let people do what they need to do, and I believe things are going to go a lot. But we seem to, it seemed to be endemic of this government that, as you say, soon seems to be the not soon.
The not soon
in this administration.
But Rohan, it's interesting that you mentioned that about letting the persons who know how to get stuff done, get them done. Because just today during the press conference, because I listened to the entire thing, and I realized that a question was posed having to do with a matter relating to health, and the Premier, who is the Senior Minister of Health, did eventually give a response, but he started by throwing it over to the Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams, who is the Junior Minister of Health. Don't get me wrong. As the Junior Minister of Health, it is expected that you will have direct oversight of that ministry. But the Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams, who I know, will update you as to what is happening. Is it a case, it begs the question now, is it a case that nothing is happening, so there's nothing to update? Or is it a situation where you just can't be bothered, and so you are not paying attention to what is happening in that ministry? Because I know it can't be a case where you are left out of the loop intentionally, so it makes me wonder what is going on in our cabinet. Is there unity in our cabinet here on the island of Nevis? I know there is no unity in the cabinet of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, but is there unity in the cabinet of the Nevis Island Administration? That's a rhetorical question, so you don't have to answer that one.
Well, there's a creeping dictatorship, though, when we are told that we have earned the right,
yes, to say and dictate. And so I'm not so sure about the unity there either, but I mean, it's a valid point. One of the things I've always asked, though, at a press conference, it would be good to hear from the other ministers, because we don't hear from them often. And when questions are posed, get a direct sense of what is happening. They are the ones more or less with their pulse on the issues. That doesn't happen, and you find that for whatever reason, the island's Premier is the one who one solves everything, and I don't know if it is to get the what do you say, the accolades. So I don't know. Rohan, also coming out of today's press conference was some talk about the hospital expansion. In fact, our Premier, the good Minister of Health, and I use my terms loosely, would have indicated that the hospital, that was the question that was posed when he directed it to the Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams. But then he eventually came back and said that we're expecting to see that being completed. I'm trying to keep a straight face, Rohan. Why are you making me laugh? I am trying to keep a straight face. Ladies and gentlemen, Rohan is here trying to make me laugh because of his facial expressions when he knows I'm trying to give a straight face to make this point, but because he doesn't believe me, he's making these faces. But we were told that today, that the hospital expansion is expected to be, the construction work is expected to be completed this year. Rohan, your thoughts? Amazing, isn't it? I mean, and I know COVID is going to get blamed, but in 2017 we were told 24 months. And the diplomat signer will tell me that by 2019, say early 2020, that the hospital will be finished. We're still here. And I understand, people don't say COVID, but we must remember there were periods in 2020 and 2021 when work was being done in other places. Yes. And there was nothing happening that would have hampered a little progress, a little work continuing on the hospital. But what is damning, if I may say so, is the fact that now we're in phase number 12 of construction because we're breaking down the interior. Yes, Rohan. So we spent 18 plus million to build the shell and the interior for whatever reason. Now we're breaking down the interior because the professional designers who understand the concept of designing hospitals are saying, in order for this thing to work properly, you see that wall over there? Probably cost 100,000, and the one over there will cost about 250,000, and all them things you got around there will cost 500,000. I am gonna take them down. Yeah, and Rohan, let's stick a pin because I want us to talk a bit more about that. We have come time and time again to talk about what is happening or not happening as it relates to the expansion of our hospital. It was not the NRP who said that this would be delivered in a short time. No, it didn't. It was not the NRP that gave a deadline or even suggested one. It was the Concerned Citizens Movement as an election gimmick, saying to the people of Nevis that the hospital expansion, well, it broke ground, years ago, they broke ground. You could have started primary school and graduated from primary school before this project has been completed. Anyway, they broke ground. Then they came back and they started the construction eventually. The construction has been going on. They kept giving us dates, Rohan. They kept giving us dates.
Yeah.
They said that, construction had to be paused, but it will come again.
Yeah.
Then, now, as you're saying, we started to blame the pandemic. But I think, based on what was happening in the pandemic, where we were losing beds, because the hospital was filled to capacity in certain wards, then it should have told us that we needed to hurry it along.
Yeah, please,
hurry it along.
Some great impetus on what was happening.
And meantime, remember, COVID is not the only illness that is out there.
Yep.
We have persons who continue to suffer from other illnesses, and so what are we saying? That is not going to be a priority because COVID is the priority? I mean, these things have to work hand in hand. So I would have thought, Rohan, as not the brightest, but I would say a little smart, an ordinary Nivision, let's put it that way, because Nivisions are smart. An ordinary Nivision, that we would have wanted to see this happen now more than ever. Nothing. And then you just raised the point, Rohan. We would have constructed the shell. We took so long to construct the shell, which, by the way, looks nothing like the original design. We would have constructed a shell. And no, they didn't tell you, or maybe they did, but they hope that we would not have paid attention, that they would have, I'm trying to stay away from the would have, somebody told me about that. So they didn't tell you that they had some persons come in to look at the hospital.
No, they didn't.
Because they realized that they were in over their heads, and the work that had been done previously was not done by someone or someone's who knew about this particular kind of design. And so they brought in a company to review the work that had been done, and was told that they were given some suggestions. Okay, that happened. The company that Rohan is now speaking about, who they would have recently reached out to, that is not the same company.
No.
These are not the same suggestions that Rohan is referring to,
No.
So somebody came and told you, you're not doing a good job, you got to fix this thing.
You go along so.
Then
when they head and did what
you
they
do
wanted.
some more work. You do some more work. You didn't listen. Like a stubborn child, you did not listen, and so you ignored that. Now you realize you're in over your head again, and an election is coming, and this hospital thing only comes up when there is an election, and so you got someone else to talk to you, and they are now telling you that something is wrong. Rohan, tell us about that.
Yeah, and it is because now, that like people would say we are criticizing, but take a close look at who is doing damage to the project. We are only speaking about what is happening. You were given the opportunity at an earlier stage to correct the mistakes that you were faced with.
Yes.
But rather than doing that, you forged ahead to complete what Jaedee said looks nothing like the original design. You grandstand about a new hospital because it is bigger than the existing facility.
It ain't bad.
And that turned around to be the problem with the facility. And now you had to pay more taxpayers' money.
Yes.
To a company to come and tell you what you were told.
Yes.
That in order for the facility to flow like a hospital, your interior design must be XYZ.
So guess what is happening now, guys? We are knocking down. We're putting it in simple language. We are knocking down the walls inside. Can you believe that? We are knocking down. We would have paid significant sums to get this designed and to get it constructed to where it is now. And we would have, we operated in a bit of an inconvenience because, we had to change a lot of things at the hospital. Aesthetically, it's not the most pleasing. However, we made the sacrifice because we knew what we wanted. And I don't think there's anybody who does not want our hospital to be expanded. I, for one, want my hospital to be expanded.
Of course.
That's not an issue. But now we are knocking down the walls So we built it, and we are taking it back down, and hopefully to get it to the point where it's going to be. I am so disappointed.
We're not knocking it down for free, you know.
Exactly.
Because taxpayers are paying for it to be knocked down. And then you're going to pay again, because when the consultancy firm comes in, you have to pay for the design that they're going to offer. And then you're going to have to pay to build back up walls within the structure. And so we are hearing that, hopeful that by the end of the year, and I want to stick this now, that by the end of the year, the building will be complete. But the hospital will not be open.
Exactly.
Because you got things you need to put inside.
You still have to put things inside.
So 2023 will come.
I can tell you this. While we are not happy with all that has happened, while we are not pleased with where we are, it will be the Nevis Reformation Party in government to complete that hospital expansion project. It will have to be the Nevis Reformation Party to complete that project. This has been going on for far too long, and I want our Nevisians, when you have to catch the boat to go over to St. Kitts for basic, it wasn't basic then, but it's basic in 2022, basic services, remember the CCM administration. When you have to fly overseas for basic services, remember the CCM administration. When you visit the Alexandra Hospital and you're up there crying over your loved ones because they can't afford to go anywhere else for care, remember the CCM administration. It is the CCM administration that has failed us time and time again where healthcare is concerned. That has this hospital expansion or non-expansion, Rohan, must be laid squarely at the feet of Nevis's premier, the senior minister of health, who I'm told are the same person, and his entire cabinet. Every took, mum, sam, and bagay.
Yeah, I don't want to believe that as you rightfully say, it has to be at the feet of all of them, because to believe that they have all sat in cabinet and allowed this travesty to happen, it's unbelievable to say the least. Jaedee, I've said before and I'll say it again, whenever Nevis has faced any level of crisis, it has always been an NRP-led administration to come to the rescue. This is no different situation.
You always say that. And you are so on point. You are so on point. Rohan, I mean, this press conference today is not all that we wanted to talk about, actually. But because we feel that it is important, imagine, you have not come to us since, I think it was November. And you come to us now, to me, in the form of a community calendar show. I was wondering today, who has the better community calendar program, Von Radio or the Premier to his press conference? You understand? Because the Premier and all seem bored at his press conference. You come and you say, I don't have the information. I don't expect him to have the information for everything. But there are certain things you should have the information for. And then at one point, I was listening and I heard someone asked a question about, I think it was the one and only resort. Was it that one? Some resort.
He's advising the legal advisor?
Yes, the Premier said, I am advising the legal advisor. I am advising the legal advisor on how to proceed. Mind you,
you can't make these things up.
Do not get me wrong. Our Premier is a fine lawyer, fine attorney. And so I think that he knows the law. But why then do we need a legal advisor if you have to advise the person?
He's advising the legal advisor.
You're advising the legal advisor? That is troubling to me, Rohan.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to know a little bit more of what is happening with that particular situation. But the one and only hotel. Why I didn't get much from or maybe I missed it. Why is your need now to be advising the legal advisor? Is some legal challenge going on? Is there a legal issue with the one and only resort? So it would have been nice to know exactly why that is happening. I just found it interesting today. Of course, we got this grandstanding of comparisons between VAT receipts in 2020 and 2021, which I laughed at, because it is impossible to believe that you expect great receipts in the heart of the pandemic, and that you did not expect or forecast that you're going to get a little bit more when the world began its recovery. Slow as it may be in 2021, that is expected. I don't understand why you need to understand. Well, I do understand.
you do
to
understand. We spent more time talking about the number of trees that had been planted. Trees are good, but as Premier of Nevis, come on, man. And listen, this issue with non-performance is not a Premier of Nevis only issue, people of Nevis. If you are affiliated with this administration, then you too have to take some of the blame. You cannot be sitting as the area representative for Nevis 1, Nevis 2, Nevis 3, Nevis 4 and think that it's okay. It cannot be. It cannot be. Rohan, this weekend, and you'll hear a lot more about this and other things as we go on, because we will speak up.
Oh yes,
we will continue to speak up. Rohan, this weekend I know that the party leader, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, will be doing a breakfast breakfast giveaway rather, in her constituency. She has been covering quite a bit of ground there. And so I just want to encourage the people of Newcastle and surrounding areas to participate in that. Equally, to have our persons participate in the virtual town hall. Reach out to your area candidates, your area reps from the NRP. If you are unclear as to how to register, please do so. Rohan, what do you have coming up as we wind down?
For me, we continue to meet our constituents. That is our focus at this moment. Of course, Nevis 3 is a very large constituency in terms of space to cover.
Yes.
And what is more interesting is that you find yourself spending more time speaking to individuals within the constituency, because there is so much people want to share. There is so much people want to see, and we have committed to do our best to not to just see them once, but hopefully we get to see them twice and three times. And so that is the focus we have at the moment. Even behind scenes, we are continuing to make plans for one or two activities as we go along, but primarily we are doing a house to house.
Yes, and guys, please follow Rohan Isles on social media to stay up to date. Follow the Nevis Reformation Party on social media to stay up to date. Follow Jaedee Caines on social media and all of our candidates to stay up to date. Patricia Bartlett, Janice Daniel Hodge, Honorable Cleon Stapleton Simmons to stay up to date on what's happening in the NRP. You will hear a lot more about some activities, fundraisers that we have for Nevis 1 St. Paul coming up. You will hear so probably within the upcoming week. But we just want to thank you, and to those who are mourning at this time, the Farrell family of Churchground, the Clark family of Quaddock Road, and the Parry family of St. Thomas's, and all others. We just want you to know that our thoughts and prayers are with you. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Speak Up. We hope to be here next week, Thursday, just talking to you and speaking up about what's happening. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Join Jaedee Caines and Rohan Isles this and every Thursday on the Caribbean's Powerhouse, Von Radio, for Speak Up, a social commentary talk show that addresses the state of affairs on Nevis. Expect great conversations, different perspectives, and an all-inclusive approach to moving Nevis forward. Tune in. It's time for us to speak up.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.